We will not copyright or trademark that. We do not have the rights to this at all. Please do not sue us. Thank you.
Welcome to These Unprecedented Gays, featuring Joe Granelli and Paul Smith. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review wherever you stream your podcasts. Check us out on Instagram at TUGaysPod and email us at tugayspod@yahoo.com. We hope you enjoy. Countdown when we do Riverside, so see, that's a good thing.
I know.
Paul.
And I'm Joe.
We're These Unprecedented Gays. I'm jumping right in, girl.
Girl, I know. I wasn't ready. I was not prepared. Wait, hold on. Let me do the theater mode so Siri doesn't talk to me.
All right. So, how was your week, Joe?
I actually had a lot of things I did this week. I had a social life.
Okay.
I know, it's surprising.
Surprised.
We went to the Old Globe and saw, it was a play about MSG. I don't know what it was called. It was called Toxic Exotic or Exotic
Deadly.
Exotic Deadly.
Okay.
But, so let me tell you why I liked it, and you would like it too. So it's this Japanese American teenager maybe, and it's set in 1999, and basically she discovers that her grandfather created MSG, and so I don't remember if it was true back in the 90s, but remember how everyone was like, MSG's gonna kill you,
right?
And it's gonna give you. It was like toxic Chinese restaurant syndrome or something. And I will tell you, this play, it was literally her a monologue for an hour and a half, and there were 6 characters.
You mean this happening right now?
Right now. Mm-hmm. We, in a Shakespearean, we'd call it a soliloquy, which is appropriate because it's the Old Globe. Okay. Right? But it was really cool because it was it took on, it was funny, it was whimsical, it was cute. There were, chocolate. There were, really cute moments, and then it also, was about, racism and, anti-Asian, life back in the 90s, and it was really cool. So we saw that on Friday, and then on Saturday was a surprise birthday party for Matthew and Katie. It was a prom thing.
I saw that,
and it was really nice because I have been holding so many surprises, and what's the other thing? Oh, I can't talk about it until it happens. Okay. Check back in a month or two.
Yeah.
It doesn't relate to you, don't worry. Okay. It was really cool because I feel as you know, from our surprises episode, listeners listen to that episode. I love surprises, and I was able to be part of the planning committee, and so it was Katie's sister at her house in Spring Valley, and then Matthew's brother Steven, me, and then Katie's boyfriend. We all kind of collaborated outside in a group text message, and I would say it went off without a hitch. Went off without a hitch. And then that was it. Okay. Is that a lot of socializing?
That is a lot of socializing for you.
I know. Are you proud of me?
Yeah.
I have a real life. Yeah. What about you?
So I did not have as exciting of a weekend as you did. Okay. I got a bunch of vaccines on Friday when I went for my doctor's appointment. So I got shingles, I got Mpox, I got all of that stuff.
Oh my god.
And of course, on Saturday I was just laid up the whole day because it was
Did it hit you all bad?
It hit me hard.
Wait, why'd you have to get shingles?
Because I don't want to get shingles.
But you're not old enough yet.
Oh, they dropped the age.
What did they drop it to?
I don't know.
I thought it was if you're over 55 or 60.
Oh, maybe I'm close enough. They're rounding up.
Oh. Well, now you're protected.
Now I'm protected. So there you go.
No shingles for you unless it's your roof. On your roof.
I got it.
I'm trying to not eat this chocolate because I feel it's going to be really loud.
Because Andy made chocolates, of course, and he gave one to... Well, it's loud because you're I
wasn't expecting it to have filling.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, so that's what... Yeah, not a very exciting week. But, so is that what's giving you life?
Is there nougat?
It's a caramel filling to it. Oh. But, is that giving you... Are you obsessed with that now? Because you know what time it is. Mm-hmm. It's time for mouth to mouth. Mouth to mouth resuscitation. If you heard that patting, that was Nick telling Cooper it's okay to get on the couch.
I know. I'm right next to you, and Cooper's like, "Oh, I can have my spot."
All right. So I'm obsessed with two things right now.
Okay.
The first thing is a new season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is out on Amazon Prime.
Oh, already? I thought it was like summer.
No, it's out right now.
The last one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the fourth season of Doghouse UK is out. And now I've talked about this show before. And it's amazing. It's about a dog shelter in the UK. And they kind of like do a Tinder meetup kind of thing. So like you go in and you tell them what you're looking for. And they match you up with dogs. But like the first episode wrecked me because like...
Did you cry?
There was a family who lost their husband/father. And the son had, autism, and he really missed his father. And it wrecked me. So yeah, but check it out.
It was good.
Yes,
Okay.
Doghouse UK on HBO Max.
Okay,
or
and
just
then-
Max now.
What?
It's just called Max now. I
Why?
guess. That's because they changed the name.
Why?
I don't know.
It's not HBO Max?
No.
What was HBO Go?
Yeah, for a while, and now it's Max, like Cinemax. Do you remember that one?
Or like my dog?
What-
Wait, Cinemax? I thought that's a thing.
That is a thing. It
Still.
used to be a channel.
Yeah.
Is it still a channel? I don't think it's still a channel.
I thought it was.
Oh, well.
I know. All I know is there's
Cinemax, if you're
Showtime.
out there, email us at 2gayspot@yahoo.com. Let us know you're still there.
Because that was like an edgy channel, right? Like kind of like where it had like the cool like
Well, they were kind of like what they called Skinamax. Because they had all like the
porn.
like the soft core porn, like Lady Chatterley's lover and stuff. You know,
Oh,
on there.
I wonder if I should Google Cinemax.
So what are you obsessed with?
Well, so I am obsessed with a. I don't even know how to describe it. So as we've discussed on this channel, whatever this is, podcast, this audio programming for your delight, listeners. I've been going through this like acid reflux journey. So I went to the ENT like 2 months ago, and I finally was able to get like a follow-up appointment, not with the ENT, but with like a voice, like you'll laugh at. It's like head, neck, and swallowing center.
Okay.
Which I do not do.
Yeah, I know.
At UCSD. And so it's like speech therapist, speech pathologist or whatever. And so I went there yesterday and I was like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that like I don't have any acid reflux. And she's like, you show no symptoms or signs of acid reflux. Eat all the pizza you want. So I am obsessed with the fact that I can get back on acid. But not like that.
So do you have like the frequent customer card for the swallowing center?
No.
Not at all.
No.
You still haven't gotten it punched yet.
I haven't even researched it. It's not on my radar because if I was a frequent swallower, they would know that it'd be a regurgitation. So I'm obsessed with that because I was like, after I had that, I was like, Nick, we're going to Sister's Pizza and getting pizza. But the caveat to that is she's like, you need singing lessons.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I know that. Like,
Yeah.
I can get on board with that because I've never had anyone teach me like how to formally sing, and like I was like, okay, that's probably important because being in like a chorus and like singing in a range that I'm not used to.
Yeah,
is like
being in a chorus is probably good to know how to sing. Mm-hmm. Probably like number one.
I mean, well, you know I lip sync sometimes. Most. I would
For your
say
legacy.
the number of lip syncs that I do per show is anywhere from 1 to all.
You're like the Silky Nutmeg Ganache of...
I'm a lip sync assassin! But I will sell it. And I will give it to you, and you will never know. And I give life. So that's what's giving me life. I can get back on acid foods. And now I just have to learn how to sing.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you know what else I'm obsessed with?
Tell me, give it to me.
That we have some guests on our podcast this week. So everybody say welcome to, say love. Say welcome to Daddy and Papa, better known as Jonathan and Thomas West. How are you guys?
Hello.
Hello, we're good.
We're super excited to have you guys here and to talk to our listeners about your new kids book, a kids book about gay parents that is due out this summer, as well as your adventures being LGBTQ family advocates. All right. So now, if you could just give a little background to our listeners about who you are and the reason why we may have asked you on our podcast. Besides that you're both very good looking and have great smiles.
And then also what's giving them life.
Oh, yes, and what you're obsessed with this week.
So 14 questions, go for it.
Well, I'm still stuck on the Swallow Center.
Do you want their number? They
Might be a little bit of a drive, but it sounds like a good deal.
But they could be a sister site in the East Coast.
Are you worried about doing your own? Are you having issues with that?
Oh, they're so fun.
I know, look how red he got.
You match your burnt umber shirt.
So, we have been known as Daddy and Papa for a while, because luckily we've been able to raise an awesome family through various means, and we have this just need to get our story of how we became a family out so that it is more accepted in our world, especially right now with just kind of a negative. I mean, you guys come in with such positive energy, and it's great because our world right now, it seems like so much is negative. All the progress that we made over the past decade or so just seems to be slipping away, especially for some of the younger generations. And we want to be out there and show our family and be a good representation. And luckily we've met great people along the way, like Nick, and who.
Let's calm down.
The
jury's still out.
Well, what Jonathan or Daddy is kind of alluding to is that I'm not the only one that calls him Daddy.
Oh my!
So we
simmer down.
I mean, he sort of said this already, but we have 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
So we have 2 7-year-olds, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Wow.
And we went with, not that this was necessarily the question you were asking, but we went with Daddy and Papa because I think a lot of 2-dad families will say they're like Daddy A or Daddy B, like whatever their first names are, or they'll say one is Dad and one is Daddy. So he chose Daddy because his dad actually goes by Papa for some of the grandchildren.
Oh God!
So we didn't want that connection. So I had to take that, which actually caused a good amount of confusion at one point. Because they still wanted to refer to themselves as Papa, and I'm like, "You're not Papa anymore. I've taken that back. It is my Papa era."
Come on.
Okay, come on, Papa
mistress.
Yeah. So anyways, I mean, we not that there aren't other daddies and papas out there, but we have tried to we are claiming that.
We're embracing it.
We are embracing it and claiming it, not just with our kids, but with whoever else wants to call us Daddy and Papa.
Okay. Now, what are you guys obsessed with this week? Is there anything?
Well, other than the news.
Oh gosh, okay.
To be honest, we finally were able to ditch the Elon Musk of our lives, and today we picked up our Rivian SUV.
Oh.
Yes. So
I was like, Elon?
No.
They got rid of their.
I think everyone knows Elon. Everyone knows who the Elon Musk is. He's just an awful person.
Yes.
Anyways, we were such huge fan. I mean, this is so lame, but we were such huge fans of Tesla, and generally we are. But he's such
a punk.
Yeah. So we're fortunate enough that we can be like, okay, we're just going to sell that car and get a new car, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone can do that, but we did that.
And I mean, the Rivian gives off very much Daddy Papa vibes.
Yeah, you're giving Butch realness, Henny.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's get into you guys. Let's get into the meat, because you guys are here to talk about your family.
Oh my.
And a book that you guys are putting out about your family and about other families that are like yours and stuff like that. But we want to get to know you first. Mm-hmm. And so you guys have been together 17 years. How did you meet?
By chance.
So what was it, 2005?
2005.
So
yeah.
2005, that's pre-iPhone, right?
It is.
That's
Yeah.
like Facebook, like hardcore Facebook time, like era.
Adam
College Facebook.
Adam for Adam and gay.com.
Yeah, so gay.com, Manhunt. What
Oh,
else- what
man.
else was there?
Okay.
That's actually, so we met online through Manhunt.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually when people ask us that question, we're like, yeah, we just met online. But
Yeah.
it was, to be fair, it was Manhunt.
Then why not? Like, it's okay.
Why is that a bad thing?
I mean,
What's-
as a kid, I remember actually playing that game, like the real game. And then you grow up
And you're still
to be
playing
able
that
to
game.
play. Yeah. To be able to like actually play that game in real life
I
as an
don't know,
adult.
Manhunt.
Now you just leveled up.
Ching.
So we met in 2005. I grew up in Florida. Jonathan grew up in Vermont, and he had just finished college. I was sort of finishing, and he had the opportunity to move from Vermont to Florida, and I was back in Florida, obviously. So we kind of that's how we connected, online and by virtue of the amazing state of Florida. Right in 2005.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we kind of hit it off right from the very beginning, and we traveled back and forth what seemed like never ending between Vermont and Florida. I think we moved like 7 or 8 times between the two places. And we kind of followed each other's, we didn't really know what we wanted to do. So Thomas got a job working for a governor candidate down in Florida, gubernatorial, who lost to Charlie Crist as a Republican. And then, I had a job opportunity in Vermont, and we just went back and forth and back and forth. Long story short, we just, we didn't know what we wanted, but we knew we wanted to be together. And, but we still didn't, even though we were together, we still didn't know exactly what our calling was or what we really wanted to do. And one of the things that Thomas always wanted to do, even when he was younger, but because of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, he felt like he couldn't. He joined the military.
Oh.
And I was like completely against it when he brought it to me. I'm like, first of all, you're 30. Second of all,
Oh, okay.
Rude.
That's actually surprisingly an old age.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not surprisingly.
What did
that
they-
is an old age for someone
So-
to enlist or commission into the military.
That's
I know
like
I
saying
call
you're gonna
you
start-
Papa. I know
That
I
sounds-
call you Papa, but what did they call you?
I don't know.
Grandpa.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's like saying you're going to get into porn at 30,
Well, I mean, you're entering the military with a lot of 18-year-olds, which
Yeah.
was a lot of fun, but also you get a lot of people like, oh, you're 30 or however old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I couldn't enlist. I mean, I could have, but I did not want to have to lie to the people that I was working with, lie to my family. I didn't want to do that. And I swear it was like the moment we knew Don't Ask, Don't Tell was going to be repealed, I was like, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. And so Jonathan will say that he's against, a lot of things. It doesn't take much to convince him. Maybe like a dozen times. Maybe I have to ask like a dozen times. Or just say I'm going to do it and you need to come along. But he changed his mind. And I think...
I'm completely thankful for the opportunity that we actually went through with it.
Yeah.
But it was scary.
You're welcome.
Well, it was scary. I mean, one, I didn't know what you were going to have to do when you went in the military. And, I just didn't want to be, part of me, I didn't want to be alone. Because, basic training was horrible. I know that wasn't very long. And, I know that there's deployments that are much longer than that, but 3 months, yikes. But we made it through, and we were one of the first to get I was one of the first to get my military ID, which was as a spouse, a same-sex spouse. It was like crazy, so exciting, and it gave us a lot of amazing opportunities. But we were still constantly looking for like okay, now we've got this military thing, and this is a great career for Thomas. And I had a career, but we still needed something more. And, we just happened to go to it was complete chance. Like, the military is very rigid about a lot of things, especially in training. And one of the things is you don't have any say of when your break can be in training. And it just so happened that Thomas had like 1 week off in training. And that happened to be the weekend of a friend's wedding on the East Coast. And so everything perfectly aligned. We went to this friend's wedding, and it was just the most like amazing amount of tradition and family and love.
So like, think of all of the really corny stuff that happens at weddings. But then if you're drinking and you start to actually enjoy it and you're like watching it and you're like, oh, this is just amazing. And you can feel the love, but it's still like super traditional and kind of corny. I think we had enough to drink at that point where we were like watching this stuff and we're like, oh my God, why does this feel so real? Maybe it's the wine. Maybe it's something else. Maybe, I mean, I for sure it was real. Like the feeling and what these two families were projecting were absolutely real. But we were sitting there and watching it, and then we kind of walked off kind of by ourselves to watch the sunset, because this was
over the
Chesapeake Bay. And we were talking to each other and we were like, how do we get this? How do we make this for ourselves, basically? And right, because that's what we were like. Yeah. That's basically how this whole like, okay, we're married, but now we want to make this. We want to really make this into a family. Have kids, basically. But it was that moment. It was that wedding.
Lord knows we've been trying to make kids, but.
Yeah. A lot of practice goes into it with two guys.
Well, here's the thing about having children, especially children of gay parents. So I'll use the phrase gay parents, but when we reference that, we're talking about LGBTQ plus parents, just everyone who fits under that umbrella. But in our experience, we identify as gay, and anyways, really nothing else. But the children of gay parents, there's a part of me that feels like they are so wanted, so loved, that it's not to imply that the children of straight couples aren't loved or are less loved, but the amount of time, effort, the emotion that goes into it is so much more significant than I think people realize. And it just, even, when we were writing this book, it made me realize how loved the children of gay parents, how loved they really are, because of all of that work that it takes to create a family, right? I mean, if you create a family through foster care or foster to adopt or just private adoption, or even through IVF or surrogacy, that takes time, that takes planning. Again, not putting down anyone who can just get in bed and make a baby, right? And even
we're still jealous.
Even for those people, it can be hard.
Yes.
It can be difficult. Some people still have to go to a doctor and have particular, I don't know what the therapy is, but particular kinds of therapy to help them get pregnant. But it just, going through the writing of this book made me realize that it was so hard and so emotionally draining. It just reminded me how much, even on the bad days, which are many, how much we wanted our children, right? Okay. Can you add to that somehow?
I mean, I have a very important question about the wedding, and specifically the cake. Yeah. And did it have fondant?
He loves fondant.
No,
I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
Man, could you imagine how much more that like would have catapulted you into this journey?
If it had fondant.
Fondant is the basis of all happiness. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait, but so I feel like that makes a cake beautiful.
And tasty.
But it doesn't make a cake taste good, does
you know
it?
What? I think that taste is subjective, and that's your opinion.
You know what? He must still have COVID because he has no taste. Okay.
I will eat all of your fondant, and I'll learn how to swallow it at the center.
What does your boyfriend taste like? Does he taste like fondant? Is that what we're talking about?
I don't know, Nick. Do you taste like fondant? So, all right, back to things. So, all right, so you guys have 4 kids all through adoption, correct?
Yeah, so 3 of them were foster to adopt and 1 was a private adoption, but yes.
And then what made you decide on adoption through all the different options available to you? And what made you adopt? Were all of them adopted through the U.S. or?
So yeah, all of our children were born in the United States. We, when we first started this journey, we weren't really, honestly, we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to go about it.
Yeah.
I think most people, without doing any research, they're like, oh, you do surrogacy.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of it. But then the majority of people, they look it up and they're like, oh shit, it costs
$100,000
minimum $100,000. Some people spend $200,000 because things just don't work out. Yeah. And not to say that that's the reason why we did foster care, but that was certainly part of our thinking. I mean, it is significant, and it's when I think about it, I usually think about it from an economical standpoint. Yeah, it costs a lot of money, but it's also so, what's the right word? Like, there's so much discrimination built into that because health insurance is available for certain people to be able to go through surrogacy, but it is not available for same-sex couples, or at least gay men, not same-sex couples.
Interesting.
But for gay men, that's not an option. It's just absolutely
certainly
not an
on
option.
military insurance, but
Yeah. But so we decided to do foster care after having 2 failed private adoptions.
which, to piggyback off what Tom said, it's so emotional, right? And there was so much built into that. That first aha moment, like when we were at the wedding, that we knew this is what we wanted, and then we finally got to this point. We said, you know what, this is actually going to happen. All of the work that we put into it, it was over a year of meetings and lawyers and making flyers and posters about yourself and websites and everything.
This is for the private adoption?
And for the private adoption. Yeah. And basically we get to this first adoption and we think everything's going to go fantastic, and then we find out it's just not. It's not going to happen. And it was I still look back at the pictures of our first adoption and how we were so excited, and then in a moment's notice everything was just taken away from us. And it was like we lost our first child.
Wow.
Oh wow.
What was the cause of that, if you don't mind me asking?
So it was a young mom, birth mom, who had chosen us as a family, as a prospective adoptive family, and she didn't get there wasn't enough due diligence, and come to find out that the child was going to be born with anencephaly, which is where the child is born with only part of their skull.
Oh.
And so she was born premature. She lived for about 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, man.
And we had selected a name. Her name was Emma. And the birth mom chose to give the baby the name of Emma, even though we didn't actually go through with the adoption. But so that was our first child. So we say we've had 4, but we really have 5 children, and we lost our first. So just all the grief and loss that we experienced in that moment was so just enormous. We felt like we couldn't move forward. But ultimately, we knew we had been through this journey, and this is what we wanted, and we got back on the bandwagon and we started doing it again. And the second adoption was a birth mom who changed their mind, but it was not equally, but the Band-Aid had already been pulled off once. But at that point, by the time the second adoption had failed, all the money that we had set aside to start our family through adoption was gone. Oh. So we didn't think at that point that anything was really going to happen. We're like, okay, what do we do now? What are our options? And it's not to say that we settled on foster care. We're at the time we were living in Baltimore, Maryland. Thomas was working at Fort Meade, just outside of D.C., and
doing secret stuff
with the NSA.
Had to kill all of us.
You were developing fondant recipes. You didn't have to lie.
Very top secret and very compartmentalized.
I was going to say, didn't you have Putin's recipe or something like that?
I know how to fly drones.
Yeah, in the buildings in Russia. No. Did I say too much? Okay.
So where were you going?
So we're living in Baltimore, and we bought a row house. We loved Baltimore, and this guy lived. This couple lived a couple houses up, and he had this beautiful little girl. And we started talking about it, and you should really consider foster care. That's how our little girl came to us, and we looked at each other like, foster care. It's not gonna.
And to be fair, we didn't know anything about foster care.
No.
We didn't really do the research. We didn't really get to talk to people about what these different options were.
We didn't know the potential.
We just didn't know. So after the loss of Emma and then the second private adoption falling through, I don't remember how long we waited. I don't think we really waited that long. I mean, it was...
Well, we fired our lawyer. That was the first thing we did.
Yeah. We don't need a lawyer.
We don't need you anymore. Get away. And...
But then we learned about foster care, and then the more that we learned, the more that we understood about it, and the need, how bad the need was.
And still is.
And not to go off onto a tangent here, but there's so much. We should talk about this at some point, but there's so much. And again, I didn't know this prior to jumping into the foster care bandwagon, I guess. Not that I'm opposed to foster care or adoption, private adoption, but there's so much systemic racism built into the foster care system that I don't think the vast majority of people even realize. Like, there are children who have been taken from their birth parents for simply not being able to pay a bill.
There are states like North Carolina, for instance, that charge the... If you say your children are taken away from you for some reason, right?
They're taken into custody.
They're taken into custody by the state, and they get put into foster care.
They bill the biological parents, who may already be in a really tough spot anyhow, or in this particular instance, they might be in jail. They might be in prison. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're working and saving up money, and then they get out, and they're like, here's your bill, and then they're unable to pay it.
So we're going to put you back in jail.
No, we're not.
Well, we're going to take your kids.
We're going to keep your kids forever.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of kids where these things happen where it's just like...
It's a perpetual circle.
It's like this...
And we've even done some genealogy things with, some kids and,
some of our kids.
And we found that there has been generations of foster care.
Wow.
And, obviously... The best situation is for a child to be with their biological family or biological family in general. Like that's if you look back 20 or 30 years, there was a time when, honestly, pre-internet, when the amount of children in foster care was actually much higher. But what's actually got the foster care program to where it's at now is that because of the internet, they're able to now more easily locate next of kin other family members who can step in, like an aunt or an uncle or a brother sister type scenario, and that's really helped quite a bit. But then there's still those that they cannot find, or like Thomas was saying, if you're living in a family that has systemically been caught in the middle of the system, you might those other family members might already be maxed out. They don't have any more room in their homes for another child, and we didn't know that going into it. We're still very thankful that we stepped forward in the foster care, and we will be huge foster care advocates. But we also want everyone to understand all of the truths of the foster care program and how it's very important to us, and it should be important to all foster families, to stay true and honest with your foster children about where they came from. And for us, that's been a real challenge because we're a transracial family. So to back up just for a second, once we actually became foster parents.
I'm really good at tangents.
Yes. Usually I'm the one who's going off on a tangent that just like talks forever. So I'm just letting you go this time.
Well, he didn't get to do the last interview that you did, so he's reclaiming his time.
He's got things to say.
I've got a poster for that.
Come on, Congress.
Oh man. So once we said yes, we went through all the training. We did all of these things, like Thomas was saying earlier, all these intentional things that we had to do. We had to go through parenting classes. We had to go through CPR training and have our house inspected by the health department and the fire department. Now, I can almost guarantee you that if a heteronormative couple got pregnant and had a baby, none of those things occur.
Mm-hmm. They should.
They should. Oh, I mean, absolutely. If
You can't hear my eyes, but I'm saying they should.
That we see them, and they are very vocal.
So we went through the training, we did all these things, and the minute we were like on the list as an adoptive family, I'm not kidding you,
Foster family.
I'm sorry, as foster family, the next like day we started getting phone calls from the city,
and sometimes this was like multiple times a day.
Yeah. Hi, this is Baltimore City Department of Social Services. We have a child in need of assistance.
Oh my God.
Do you have space in your home? And of course, I would say yes, and then they would say, well, we have an X, we have a Y, we have a 7-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, whatever it was, and we had specified kind of like we were looking for a young, like a newborn, like that's what we were looking for our home. But I can tell you that for 4 months straight, I said no, because I was too nervous that one of these children who were absolutely in need would come into our lives and be taken away. And
which in some ways is what we want.
Yes.
Right? But we didn't know that.
We weren't ready.
We were afraid of that.
We were afraid.
But I think for anyone who's interested in being a foster parent, that's actually a good thing, generally speaking, because you want them to be able to go back to their biological family under the right circumstances. So if you're able to give them the love and care that they need for no matter how long that they're in your house, that's exactly what they needed.
And we've talked
now. Our intent wasn't to be foster parents. Our intent was to adopt.
So that's
I should say the reason why we were saying he was saying no.
Yeah, when we signed up to be foster parents, we found out that there was a list that we could be placed on for children who have basically cleared all the hurdles and are ready for adoption. So we put our name down on that list and just kind of thought, oh, that may or may not ever happen, but if it ever does, well, it'll happen when it happens. So finally, with his job, he was in a position where he couldn't answer the phone without literally everyone in the office putting absolutely everything down because he was in a secure skiff, which is funny because, certain presidents don't think that's important, but here I am.
Well, apparently 2 presidents and 1 vice president.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
So,
names.
yeah. Don't say their names.
I'm gonna say Joe, Mike, and the douchebag.
That sounds like a great sitcom. Or a morning show on a radio station.
Joe, Mike, and the douchebag.
Actually, would be a perfect morning show.
I like
Wait,
it.
aren't they taking over for Tucker Carlson?
We must be the same age if we're talking about morning radio shows.
Probably.
Well, have you had your
Watch out,
shingles
Cora
shot?
Coleman on NPR.
So you were saying
so he-
saying no a lot because I was in a position where you couldn't communicate with me.
I wanted to
very
run it
easily.
by him. I'm like, and by the time I've already hung up, they're already calling the next family.
Right.
So finally, he said to me, "You know what? If it feels right, just say yes."
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of days later, we got a call, and we took a placement that had potential that they might be with us long term. But what's always amazing about becoming a foster family and then getting a placement is that once you say yes, it was 45 minutes and they showed up on our doorstep with a baby.
Oh my
Here's
God.
a piece of paper, sign it, and walked away.
They don't even take the baby out of the person. Yeah, it's like here's a baby.
Wait. So
Bye.
that 45 minutes, and you didn't have time to get any supplies, diapers.
I mean,
or anything like that?
No, a friend. So we had
We
already
were sort of prepared,
I can say
but not enough.
we bought all the things we thought we were going to need.
Yeah.
All of that stuff got donated, and we ended up going to Target at the last minute. Literally, someone came to our house and we don't even have baby food or diapers
Oh my God.
or any of those things. We didn't know who was going to be coming to our home. So as soon as he came home, a friend of ours who was so excited and followed our journey. We're like, "You got to come. We need your help." And we bolted to Target or Walmart or something. I'm sure it was Target, and got what we needed for the night. And he ended up only being with us for 3 days.
Oh wow.
But I always tell the story, and that was our first, so we didn't know what to expect. But for the same way that they called us and showed up at our doorstep with a baby, we got a random phone call, and they said, "Hey, we're going to need to come pick up the baby. He's going to be moved to a different jurisdiction." And I remember taking the things that we had bought for him, the little personal things, and I put it all in a Ziploc bag, which there's a whole story and difficult journey that you'll learn. And with foster care parents, a lot of children show up at your homes with a garbage bag. And that's a whole other discussion for a whole nother day. But we had bought some things specifically for this little boy, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and I wrote him a little note from Thomas and I was like, "Good luck on your journey." Now, who knows where that note is, but I hope someday it meant something to him. But I got the call. We were in a 2-story townhouse, and Thomas went upstairs to go to the bathroom. And while he was in the bathroom, they showed up at our door.
And he was gone.
And he was gone.
Oh my God.
I came downstairs and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
He didn't even get to say goodbye.
I'm like, "Okay, bye."
But from there, we kind of knew that we needed to ask more questions. We needed to we needed to ask enough questions that we felt comfortable about the situation. And a few days later, we got another call, and we felt good enough about the situation. And 45 minutes later, a little baby shows up on our doorstep.
A 4-day-old
Four-day-old
girl.
baby. And that is our oldest, Grace. And 6 weeks later, we had a 6-week-old. We were exhausted. Thomas had taken time off.
So we were in bed on a Friday night at
Yeah.
8:30.
Yeah. We were doing
That
true
sounds
daddy
so
things,
good.
right? And
It's still really good to do.
yeah.
But this was even 7 years ago, and it's Friday night, 8:30. We get a phone call.
And it's, "Hi, this is the Baltimore Department of Social Services. We have we have a child. Would you be interested? Will you adopt her? Was based the gist. And I'm not paraphrasing. That was almost exactly what they said. And we're like, hello? And of course our answer was yes. And he's over here next to me in bed going, can we see her? Can we see her? Can we see her? And I'm like, shh, because they were already telling me, can you go see her right now? And they said she was a day old. And we didn't even think about Grace or anything like that. At that point, Grace was just 6 weeks. She was a foster child. She may or may not stay with us. And we rushed to the hospital, and she was 4 hours old when we got there.
God.
Wow.
And that's our second child. That's Charlotte.
Oh, that's
And
the picture, right?
We said,
okay.
yeah. So we said yes to Charlotte. We said yes, not knowing anything about Charlotte, not knowing really not much background information at all. But we then realized, wait a minute, we're only approved for one child in our house. And they said, oh, we'll figure that out.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So we had twins.
Basically, yeah.
And there's many stories about going to malls, and we would have double bassinets, and one of our daughters is white and one of our daughters is black. And they would see them from a distance, and they would go, oh, look, it's twins. And they would come up and say, oh, that could happen.
People will go into the weirdest, trying to back themselves out of things. We had so many people yeah, it's absolutely possible. And then they'd go into detail, about how it's possible. And I'm like, we're standing in a mall and I don't know who you are.
Oh my God.
It'd be one thing if you were a gay man and you were trying to tell me this story, but you're just some random person in the mall trying to tell me how it's possible for a woman to 6 weeks apart have two children who are clearly of a different race. And I'm like,
Oh, Donna.
what is going on? So anyways, we had a lot of that. So,
But we went through the entire process, and luckily for us, in the journey of building a family, we were able to adopt both Grace and Charlotte. It took many months. Charlotte was 9 months, which is very quick. Grace was 18 months, and we just went along, and we were a family of four for a long time, and it wasn't until we were kind of traveling around the country because we both, I worked remotely. Thomas was retired from the military, and we were traveling around the country in our Airstream with two little girls, a dog, and wherever we decided we wanted to go, we went. And then we started reading articles about how there was an increased need for foster families, and there were certain states that were really bad, especially over the opioid epidemic. And Vermont was on that list. And that's my home state. That's where I was from. That's where we had a house. And that's when we made the decision that, you know what? I think it's time to grow our family again. And that's when we get home and we answer an email. And that email led to meeting our third child, Eleanor, and we met her when she was 4 days old.
yeah. Everyone's been about either 4 days or 4 hours old.
Yeah.
It's kind of been a weird.
So we've lucked out in getting lucky that we've been able to meet our children at such a young age, because we get to experience almost everything that we would have if we had a surrogacy where we were there at birth. Obviously we didn't get to experience that, and that would be an amazing thing to remember. But for us, having a little 1 year old or 1 day old or a 4 hour old in our arms and realizing that this little one can be ours is an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And then what was it, a year About 2 years later, we got another phone. So we've lived all over the place.
Yes.
We lived in Atlanta for about a year, and when we were living there, one of Jonathan's coworkers had adopted twins from a birth mother who she couldn't take care of them, and decided to surrender
their rights,
terminate her rights. And I don't know why we said this, but we're like, well, if this ever happens again with this same birth mom, since we know you two so well, these are two moms that adopted two kids, we're like, just let us know. I don't regret this at all, but we got a phone call because it happened again. And this one, this particular
at this point,
right? Well, this one was a private adoption, and private adoptions are messy. They're expensive and messy, and they get complicated. And this one was exactly that, like 100%.
And we didn't know. And this one was very back and forth. We didn't know if it was going to happen. It did. It didn't. It was on and off. But ultimately, we always have believed, and I've said this many times when talking to people about foster care, is that and being a parent in general, you have to be the best advocate for your child, right? And you have to advocate for them in everything. And in foster care, as a foster parent, you have to show up and you have to be an advocate for that child, because otherwise they do potentially get lost in the system. And for us, after going through 3 foster care, foster to adopt scenarios, we were, I don't want to say we were pros at it, but we certainly had enough knowledge going into it that we said, okay, we're going to the mat for this. And we're going to fight to make sure that this child has everything that they need and that they're in the right place. And at one point, we actually thought that there was a chance that he would be going back to what we thought was a biological family member. And we had to really come to terms that, the best situation might not be that he's with us. It may be that he's with an aunt or an uncle, because ultimately reunification is incredibly important. But it turned out that person wasn't biological family.
And now this is our fourth child and
our fourth child.
Only son.
So we have 3 girls and 1 boy.
So, and actually we get asked this question a lot, and we answered it in our book, and people will always ask, do you plan on having more kids? And I forget how we worded this in the book, but it's Daddy always says no. Papa says maybe. And we'll know when it's right.
Yeah.
We'll just know, right? So for right now, we have 4 kids. That's how they came to us.
4 kids under the age of 8.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's a lot of work.
I'm sure. Because even during this interview, I see you guys looking towards the door, making little hand motions to the kids or something.
Well, so I think you guys mentioned book.
Yes.
And you've kind of alluded to it throughout kind of this conversation. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we approached a publisher, and this is a publisher. They write the company is called A Kids Co, and they write a series of books called A Kids Book About. So the very first book they wrote was A Kids Book About Racism. And the founder of the company wrote it, and he wrote it because I believe he's biracial, and his children are biracial. And they live in Portland, Oregon, which I think is the whitest, large city in the country. And he wanted to be able – it wasn't that he wasn't having conversations about race and racism with his children, but he wanted to write a book about racism for children, and specifically for his kids, so that they always knew it was a topic that was okay to talk about. And the theory behind all of these books, no matter what the topic is, so a kid's book about racism, a kid's book about systemic racism, a kid's book about water, something simple, a kid's book about anxiety, autism. I mean, whatever the topic is, it exists. So the idea behind building this company was, kids are ready and able to have discussions about these topics. Parents and grown-ups in general shouldn't shy away from having discussions about them, because they might be 7 now, but by the time they turn 12, 13, 14, they're not going to want to talk to you anyhow. So now's the time to do it, right? And even though some of them are really tough topics, even topics that might be difficult for a grown-up to understand, but these books are written in a way that they're designed for a grown-up to read it with a kid, and then when they're done reading it, to be able to talk about it. So that's where we got the idea, because I loved this series anyhow. I got the idea. I was like, they don't have a kid's book about gay parents. They just don't. Everything else is, I mean, like I said, they've got almost every topic, but I brought this to them like, here's our idea. We basically interviewed with the publisher and told them our story, which is, just like we're doing here. And he's like, you guys have already done the hard part. You've lived the story, the written words that we can put into a book that tells this story. So all we need to do is sit down and help you put it on paper, right? And that's what we did. So we don't have the exact date yet, but we expect the book to be released this summer. It's titled A Kid's Book About Gay Parents.
And the goal, we're working with the publishing company to make sure that we're trying to get it out for Pride. We feel like it's a perfect time when, for our community to be so positive about, our lives and who we are, our authentic selves. And I feel like there's no better time to present this book as just another piece of the LGBTQ puzzle that you can help continue to start the conversations around the country. And we've always believed in acceptance through visibility. We feel like being out there, showing ourselves as just a normal family. Forget the LGBTQ family. We go through the same struggles. I mean, our kids shit their pants the same amount of times as everyone other kids, right? Right? So
who said same?
That was Joe.
It was not me.
It was maybe you should slow down on the pizza. I don't know.
Listen, if you, a good example for kids is that it happens to everyone.
I know.
Everybody poops.
Everybody poops. I know.
Shit happens.
There is a book.
There's a book about that.
There is a book about that.
But we feel like getting more examples out there of just regular families like us. We just happen to have 2 dads, and make it more a part of our everyday life for children who may not. I know when I was a kid, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, that there was no family like us that I can remember. There was no representation at all on television. I mean, God, we were all alive when Ellen was, it was big news when Ellen said, "I'm gay" into a microphone on television. Like, that was big news. And now we've come so far and there's so much more representation, but there still is very little about gay parents. Just like when we were starting our journey back in 2013, 2014, we still didn't necessarily see very many 2-dad families or 2-mom families that were out there.
And I know this actually isn't true, but I feel like they're everywhere now.
Yes.
Does anyone?
There's a psychological phenomenon that once you start thinking about something, you start seeing it everywhere.
It's like when you get a new car and then you see that car everywhere.
I do, yeah.
Cut to, there's a Rivian out front. There isn't. We can't afford it.
So, we're really excited to be able to start more conversations with more families so that, the little Tommies and Johnnies of the world, when they're 6 or 7, can understand that when they become, time to start a family, they can start a family that's true and authentic to them. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to, there's just so much love and so much right about a family in general. And just because you have two dads doesn't make it obsolete. And we go into depth. I don't want to say in depth, but in the book we refer to, what builds a family. It's not that you might have two moms, two dads, a grandma, a grandpa who's raising you. I know in our community we a lot of times talk about chosen family. Mm-hmm. I certainly know that when we were in the military, our chosen family was the organization that kept driving equality in the military for us. That's actually how we met. That's actually how we met Nick. And Nick was
the boyfriend.
Nick. I mean, he's
not like your boyfriend, not like a throuple kind of thing, right?
Wait, what? I don't get it.
Listen, not to toot Nick's horn, but Nick.
That's my job.
Back off. No.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
We're working on that.
Nick, I know you're not on camera, but I'm pretty sure you're blushing right now. But our kids know Nick as Gunkle Nick. Aww. And he was so important in helping our family become what it is. And the organization that he was part of, American Military Partner Association, now Modern Military Association of America, they were just a huge family for us because we could see other families just like us. So we knew how important it was. And, Grace and Charlotte, we got to go to the White House because of them. We have Christmas pictures underneath the White House Christmas tree. And we got to see Michelle Obama speak and hear all the gays gasp when she walked in her green gown. It was just like one of the most
even
amazing
the gays
days of our
gasped
lives.
Here.
Yeah.
I gasped, yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah,
are there any
this book is just it's a culmination of being so. It's so important to us to be able to spread this message that it's okay to be gay. It's great that you can know that you can build a family, mm-hmm. and a family is built on love, and we're really excited to get the story out.
So are there any funny stories in the book about your kids or anything that might have happened? Or maybe there's a funny story you want to share now with us. Obviously, because you guys are giggling.
So I actually shared the manuscript with my mom. So we call her Nana. And I actually shared it with her just a couple days ago. And she read it and she got to a certain point and she's like, "Did you really include this?" And one of the things that I always thought was funny was appropriate parents will tell their kids to say "excuse me" when they do something, like if they fart or toot or sneeze. So I
love that you started with fart instead of sneeze. It's like already the fart.
I prefer
and then he
to say
added toot because it's like here's the more appropriate word is toot.
I really do prefer to say toot. I don't know why, but anyways, for the longest time, even when all of our kids were young, I would get them to say "Tah-Dah" after they tooted.
Okay. That should be celebrated. Yes, I'm going to do that.
You should. Our two oldest don't do that anymore, but our 3-year-old and our 1-year-old will do it.
Yeah.
Like if the 2-year-old is sitting, well, she's actually 3 now. Sorry. If she's sitting on my lap and I'm like, "Eleanor, did you just toot?" And she's like, "Tah-Dah."
I'm going to do that. Okay, that's like my favorite takeaway is after I burp, fart, or I don't know.
Anything. Go to the bathroom.
Can you imagine if after you orgasm,
one of the other things that I've tried to teach them, and this is sort of jokingly, but also, true. When you get, it's almost like when you get a compliment and you instead of saying, "Oh, thank you," or just trying to be polite about it, you should be like, "I know." Like, "Your hair looks so good today." I know.
Ooh, I do that.
I do that anyway. Somebody said, "Oh, I really like your sweater," and I'm like, "I know."
Or, "You're welcome for being in the presence of greatness."
Yeah. So, all right. So before we wrap this up and get into like the rapid fire questions and stuff like that. Because you have 4 kids, how do you get some daddy time and papa time? You know what I'm saying? Let's be real about that.
How long has it been?
So, for our listeners out there, I can describe the scene. They look very uncomfortable, and I'm gonna guess that it may be few and far between.
I'm thinking it was just right before
right
before that.
Like, plot twist, they're having sex right now.
We are. This is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work if you're sitting next to each other, and then you guys are gifted.
You guys are versatile.
Actually, we haven't seen a lot of the left arm, so that could be in somewhere.
Both. Let me see hands. No.
So can you answer that question?
Honestly, I know it's not just a gay dad thing. It is parents in general have enormous jobs, and we're not saying about their work. It is literally just, for a lack of better terms, balls to the wall from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. And
so 9 o'clock to 9:30 is when the key time is.
9:01 to 9:03.
So our 2 youngest go to daycare, and our 2 oldest go to school.
Oh.
So when it's not summertime...
There you go. You have some time.
So 9 months out of the year,
it's a little afternoon delight.
You're doing balls to the walls in that room.
It's a very enormous job. It requires enormous.
God, these size queens around.
I know, enormous.
Lots of
time. Takes a lot of time. The patience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No,
it doesn't take a lot of time.
No.
A 1 minute wonder.
Basically.
It just means you're efficient.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be.
Right.
You know, you never know when one's going to walk in. So.
And then you're going to have to teach them what that is.
No.
All right. So,
just remember, we're 2 gay dads and we have 3 girls. So that talk's going to be fun.
Yeah, that is going to be
when
fun.
2 daddies love each other.
That has nothing to do with you. I mean, you might want to. I don't know. So anyway, all right, guys. So how can our listeners find you on the socials?
So on Instagram, we are Daddy and Papa, at Daddy and Papa. On TikTok, we are at the Daddy and Papa. Or you can go to our website, which is daddyandpapa.com.
Oh, you guys are TikTokers? Did your kids teach you
We're
that?
not really good TikTokers. We're more like we're millennials, so we create everything on Instagram and then we just share it to TikTok.
Oh, okay. Because see, it's the other way around for like Gen Z and younger. They do everything on TikTok, and then they're like, "Oh, my parents have to see it, so let me share it to Instagram."
Yeah, that's how we watch TikTok.
That's how we watch TikTok.
Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that group where I'm kind of hoping that TikTok does get banned.
You're like one less platform to manage.
Yeah, there's one less to worry about.
No more. Then you're like, I don't have to learn this dance anymore.
Yeah.
And when the book comes out, how can people get it? Like, is there a website?
It'll be available on our website, daddyandpapa.com, and then it will also be available at akidsbookabout.com as well.
Nice.
And
and hopefully in all of your independent bookstores.
Yeah. So we're working. Luckily, we didn't get into this, but we actually had a connection with our local bookstore. We were part of the ownership team, so we have a great in with our local independent bookstore.
Oh.
And we're hoping that as part of our summer tour, if you will, we're going to be teaming up with a lot of independent bookstores in the places where we go for Pride events. And, the reception so far, I think, in the bookstores that we've reached out to has been fantastic.
Nice.
So
we might be coming to a Pride near you with 4 children in tow and a book.
We need a babysitter.
Well, it's in July, and if you do need to go to the Voice and Swallow Center, now you have an opportunity. There you go.
Will you drive us there, Joe?
I can. Do I have to go to Vermont, though?
No, we'll come to you.
Okay.
Well, so you guys could come out here in June and go to Disneyland Pride After Dark with the kids.
We are the kids.
Because we're already going.
We're going. You can go to Pride before dark, and then we'll just do after dark.
There you go.
Sounds like a good plan.
Question, Joe, do you drive everywhere or do you let Nick drive?
Oh, no, I drive everywhere because Nick hates driving.
You should know this.
And I will say that if I don't have an electric car, but we have hybrids, so we can be fuel efficient to match your electric energy.
Ooh.
By we, I mean me and Paul, because we have the same car, but he has the fancy one that... there was an episode we did, and he was talking about it. He's like, "Oh, Joe, like, can you remote start your car from the app?" And it was like, "No, I got the basic model."
You're a 10 on the pH scale.
I'm 14, girl.
Because that means you're basic.
Girl, I'm 14. I'm off the charts. You're basic.
All right. Well, we're going to do our rapid fire questions. Are you guys ready?
Oh, gosh.
Sure.
Yes.
All right. If you were a candy, what would you be?
Oh.
Rapid fire.
I'd be a Twizzler.
Oh.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Well, I mean, what's the best way to eat a Twizzler?
Not.
Use it as a straw.
Wait, which was...
I don't know, I
the
think Twizzlers are
the
like...
licorice ones? Which ones are
Yeah, those are the red ones.
It's not licorice, though. It's like... It's the good licorice. Like, not that crappy black stuff that no one likes to
those
eat.
are the ones you have to, like, unroll. Like, you, like, you put them apart.
Those are
like-
red vines.
Yeah.
No. Don't go there.
Yeah. They look like red vines, but they're not.
Yeah, they're, like, twirled up, right? Like,
Yes.
It's like the American cheese of licorice.
Oh, okay. I can get on board with that. And so you're that because why?
I don't know. I was actually thinking... We were actually talking earlier about how there are, like, 0 movies we want to see. And my first thought was, oh, man, that's like the one food I used to always eat when we would go to the movies.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I don't know.
All right, Daddy, what about you?
I was trying to think of something good. But for some reason, I'm stuck on mounds. And I don't know...
Oh! Show us the mounds.
Well,
okay.
I mean...
Is that the one
I could go with Almond Joy, but sometimes I
Yes.
just don't feel like a nut, you know?
Oh!
You just want a nut.
Here's a secret. He is actually allergic to nuts.
Oh, that's...
Even D's?
What about
No. Not
But
those.
not human nuts.
Correct.
boy.
Oh. Okay.
He really is allergic to nuts.
Are like all like trees and
So
tree
no
nuts and
peanut
everything?
butter for you.
Yeah.
Oh. Like highly allergic, like you can't have it in the house.
Yeah. Well, no,
Like-
I'm not that allergic, but
Oh.
honestly, it causes acid. That's, yeah. So
She need an
I found
EpiPen.
out-
That's your drug.
I found out I do have one. I actually found out that I'm allergic to, like, food. So, like, all tree nuts. Actually, the worst thing are chickpeas. Ugh.
Oh no, no
I love
hummus.
for you.
That's hummus.
Are those a
Yeah.
are those a nut?
No, chickpeas are a legume,
A legume.
legume.
I
Okay.
think.
Alright.
Also known as garbanzo beans. They're
Okay.
the same.
Look at you knowing stuff.
You know I know my
What about you?
chickpeas.
What about you, Joe? What candy
Well,
would you be?
my favorite is Reese's peanut butter cups. But if I were to be one, I'd be a big cup.
Oh, Lord.
Because I got a lot of that filling, yo.
Ew.
Yeah! You want that peanut butter goodness? And you?
I would be a Snickers because once you throw me in a pool, everybody gets out.
Girl, that's Baby Ruth. No, that's Baby Ruth. That's Baby Ruth.
Both.
You just are
I called you
a
for more of
nice-
like a Godiva lady or something, you know? A Godiva girl?
Because he's wait, Paul, because he's so fancy.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
had the fancy car. What's your rapid fire question for them, Joe?
What is the last thing you Googled?
Oh, God. I know what it is.
What?
I know for you, because we did it before we started talking.
Oh,
I always,
it was
so
porn.
I always it wasn't porn. I don't have to Google porn.
He has it saved.
We all know where to go. I don't have to Google that. No, I a lot of times I feel very like I just don't know enough about gay history. So it's almost like one of those like embarrassing things where it's like you feel like you should know more and you don't.
Okay.
So anyways, I looked up Gilbert. So the font of our book is actually called Gilbert. So a kid's book about gay parents, a kid's book about is a different font, but the gay parents part is a completely different font, and it's called the Gilbert font in honor of Gilbert Baker, the creator of the original pride flag.
How cute is that? That is a cute font.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought, like, when he said Google stuff about gay history, I thought it was just going to be like a Derek Barry moment.
Stonewall.
Stonewall.
Yeah, people died at
People
Stonewall.
died. No one died. All right. What about you, Daddy? What's the last thing you Googled?
Well, it's funny that you might bring up Derek Barry because the last thing I Googled was when does RuPaul's Drag Race come back on?
Oh, May 12th for All Stars.
Oh, I know.
Season
Why
8.
isn't it on MTV?
Yeah,
Did
why
they
is it
switch?
like a different station every single
Is this
season?
a Florida thing?
No, I think right, Florida Man.
It's rights. I don't know.
I think it is rights because like Paramount has rights to
All-Star.
All Stars, but also the regular one because they're part of that.
It's
Because on
confusing.
MTV, but I don't know. I think MTV only has contracted just the regular season.
Yeah.
Just the main franchise, whereas World of Wonder and Paramount and Showtime and all this other stuff, they go all over the place.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Which reminds me, we have front row seats to the Jinx Monsoon coming up in June.
There you go.
Oh my god.
Her 44 stop tour.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Our kids
12, 10.
love Jinx Monsoon.
So hopefully we'll see her when we go to DragCon next weekend. We're going to meet a whole bunch of queens. Get them all to shout out our podcast. All right. What about you, Joe? What's the last thing you Googled?
Well, it's funny that there's a RuPaul theme because the last thing I Googled was it's chocolate RuPaul meme.
That's right. You said all that text change.
Well, because yesterday I was washing my dishes and he was like, "Oh yeah, like enjoy Palmolive," and I replied back with the GIF or the meme of it's chocolate, and I wrote instead of chocolate, I put it's Dawn because I don't got that kind of Palmolive money.
That's it. I feel left out because my last one was a chocolate mousse recipe.
It's chocolate.
It's
chocolate.
There you go.
See?
All right. So last quick fire for you guys.
Not chocolate pudding, it's chocolate mousse.
It's chocolate mousse, not chocolate pudding. Nobody got time for chocolate
Bougie.
pudding. All right. So what kids show, past or present, best describes your relationship?
Oh.
See, I didn't know where you were going with that, and the first thing, when you say kid show, the first thing that comes to mind is Bluey, just because our family's obsessed with that, but that absolutely is not what our family is.
That's not your relationship.
I don't even know what that is. What's Bluey?
Bluey is an
You don't
Australian
know what
dog.
Bluey is?
Oh my god.
Is
Kids
it
are
new?
obsessed with Bluey.
There are
Author
3
doesn't
seasons
suggest
of
you
Bluey.
Bluey screen.
You could watch it you could just watch it by yourself and you would absolutely love it. Actually, halfway, so we drove back from Boston today, and halfway through, I'm like, I need to listen to something other than Taylor Swift. So I started listening to the Bluey soundtrack.
Oh my.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Okay,
you
you're
have
first.
Well, I would say Bluey.
Okay.
Bluey.
Bluey? Describes your relationship?
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 dogs with multiple children.
Oh.
Bluey, the Bluey family, they're dogs. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Okay.
What would yours be though?
I'll wait for Daddy to
You know
answer.
what? You know what? Just as if he's going to go that direction, then I guess we're Beavis and Butthead. You know,
Oh, there you go. No? But which one of you is Cornholio? All right. So, Joe, what about you?
I'm thinking. Cat dog. Because Nick always wants to run away from me, but he can't.
Okay.
And he's like, it's like, oh no, I'm like, I want to give you all the love. And he's like, no. And it's like, sucks, you're attached to me.
Aww.
And we also poop into each other's butts naturally. That's cat
Oh,
dog
that's
does.
very human centipede. That's a whole different thing.
Obviously kidding, because that's the thing with cat dog. It's like they're joined at the I don't even know, and it's like they don't
At the waist.
There's no, who knows how.
How that happened. I would be the Care Bears.
Ooh.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
Which Care Bear would you be?
I always loved Lucky Care Bear.
The green one?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the 4-leaf clover. Yeah.
Which one would Andy be?
I think he would be the one with the rainbow.
Which one's that one?
I don't know.
Rainbow?
Who's the lion Care Bear?
I don't know. Now I'm lost. Okay.
Wait, that's the Care... Okay, I clearly don't know the Care Bears.
I remember
you thought it was
Care
something
Bears,
else?
but I do not remember a single one of the characters. I'm
Yeah.
old enough to remember watching the Care Bears, but not any of the details.
I got confused with My Little Pony.
I always love it because they just say Care Bear stare. And then...
What do they stare at?
Well, that activates their power.
Oh.
And then, the bright light shoots out from their stomach.
So you just shoot out 4-leaf clovers?
Yes, from my tummy.
Because you're lucky?
Yes.
Oh my god, when you're like, hey, we're gonna have sex, you shoot it out, you want to get lucky?
On that note... Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for being on our podcast. Again, everybody go pick up their book. What is it called again? One more time.
A kid's book about gay parents.
Well, guys, have a great night. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks for having us.
Special thanks to Andrew Smith and Nick Stone for producing the show. If you like us, please follow us at TUGaysPod on Instagram and visit us online at tugayspod.com. You can find us anywhere you can stream podcasts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know topics you'd like to hear. And always remember, stay safe, stay classy, stay sassy, and always stay a little bit trashy. See you next week.